A federal House bill, is going to establish federal criminal penalties for staged highway accidents involving commercial trucks. The criminal penalties extend not only to the motorist perpetrators who intentionally crash their vehicles, but also to the attorneys and physicians who conspire with them to extort motor carriers.
Sure.
Another thing that is being looked at, it's called forum shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when plaintiff lawyers, if an accident would happen, let's say in Denton County or Collin County, plaintiff lawyers want to move that to Dallas County because it's a more liberal court jurisdiction. And judges may allow more evidence coming from the plaintiff side and limit the amount of evidence coming from the defense side. So there is a House bill presented to prevent forum shopping by plaintiff attorneys.
When do we expect the next judicial hellhole list to be released? I know we talked about it, I don't know, last year at some point when that list came out, but I don't know if we have any farm fresh onions on what are the judicial hellholes now.
Yeah, and we're talking about these issues, but right now Congress has a more pressing issue. It's called the reconciliation bill. And they're trying to figure out how can we fund Homeland Security, how can we pay air traffic controllers, how can we pay TSA agents, which is being paid now, but they weren't for a while. They're trying to figure that out and get a lot of this stuff done prior to the November election dates, because that's when you elect new House members and new Senate members. I think the Senate right now in the U.S. Congress is 53 Republicans, 47 Democrats. The House, 219 to 217, 219 Republicans, very narrow. And so you know what happens in November. They're going to look at affordability. And are we better off or not better off in saving money in fighting all this inflationary stuff? So in gasoline.
It's not looking good.
Gasoline right now, if it remains what it is, it's going to be, it seems like the voting public votes a lot with their pocketbooks.
Of course. Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens there. And I think another bill was holding judges accountable when there's clear case evidence being withheld. There is now a bill to sanction judges, and we'll see how that goes. But these are things that are being talked about in Washington, D.C., and everybody I talk to up there on this business side, small business, medium business, their number one conversation was, we can't afford the insurance costs anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
So where does it end?
What did Ted Cruz hone in on? What was his hot button when you guys talked with him?
Well, Ted Cruz is one of my heroes. So not to get too political here, his ears perked up when we were talking about staged accidents.
Okay.
And the fraud and nothing being done and even presenting evidence to maybe a judge or jury, and they're still discounting it, kind of caught him by surprise.
Really?
Yeah, he was a little surprised to hear that. But he's a great guy and funny and spent more time than he should have with us. Now, the Small Business Committee chairman is a guy named Roger Williams. I think he's out of maybe somewhere in the Panhandle, owns car dealerships, maybe Weatherford. That's where he's from. So he is the one to really get momentum on some of these bills because he is the chairman of the Small Business Committee in Congress. And you walk into his office and you're walking into Cooperstown.
Oh, really?
He played for the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, no joke.
He did. He's got all this baseball memorabilia. It is really, really cool. really, really cool. And you would think you're walking into some baseball museum.
That's cool.
He would be a good guy to get the ear of.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not familiar with him. How old is he? When did he play for the Braves?
He is probably he had to be back in the 80s.
Okay.
I would say when he played.
How long has he been in politics? Just recently?
Maybe second or third term.
Okay.
I'm not
Cool.
specific on that, but really, really good guy.
That's cool.
Really, really good guy.
So you guys talked to him as well, or his staff?
We talked to his staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, we also, we met Beth Van Doon at one of my clients' offices, and she knows Roger Williams very well. And so she is passing along some of our conversations we had with Beth, who's a congresswoman, U.S. congresswoman,
Right.
on to Mr. Williams.
Yep.
So
That's cool.
yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, forum shopping, staged accident, litigation funding. Those are all really big hot buttons.
I'm looking here. It says that he played for the Braves from 71 to 73, and he was elected since 2013.
Okay.
So a bit of the time zone as far as where he comes in.
Yeah.
So he's been in several terms.
I guess they have a baseball game every year.
Yes, they do. You remember years ago when there was a
Scalise.
There was a shooting. Yeah.
Yeah, Scalise. Anyway, whenever they divide their teams up, everybody wants Williams on their side.
Of course. Hey, let's get the MLB guy on our team. Right.
Next time you go, you can find his rookie card and have him sign it.
Maybe he could somehow use that influence in the baseball game to whip votes.
I like the analogy. I like that. And another thing we really didn't touch on that I know that all of our clients here in Texas are facing is the tariff tax. The EU and Japan make excellent cranes, excellent cranes. And the engineering is fabulous. And so when our U.S. crane companies buy their product, they usually go abroad to the Japanese, which is Tadano, and the EU, which is Liebherr. Excellent machines. And there's a 25% tariff, which has caused an issue. So I know that there's been some correspondence with the United States Trade Representative, Ambassador Jameson Greer, asking if we can, or the crane companies can get relief on that 25% tariff. Because when you quote a job a year and a half ago, and midway through, you get hit with a 25% tariff, it's hard to claw that back because you've already built in your pricing to the job. And it's created the Chinese to come in and take bigger market share because their machinery is, could be half the cost of some of the German and Japan-made manufactured machines. So I know that's an issue. The tariff was to balance our trade agreement with other countries. In this case, I think it's kind of unbalanced with steel being at 25%. And it's allowed the Chinese to be more competitive in selling their product over here. So it could stall some of the infrastructure building. It could be bridges, roads, data centers. When we're involved halfway through some of these projects and then having to pay the 25% additional tariff. And that's being addressed. I think one of the things the associations would request is give us a 2-year exemption so we can actually, the ones we already have building and in the middle of building infrastructure and data centers, it's hard to go back and say we need another 25%. So give us a 2-year exemption and then maybe transition that tariff in, maybe 10% on year 3, 15 on year 4, and et cetera. So that's a big thing going on right now. And I know some of the associations are pushing that with the U.S. Trade Ambassador.
I know a lot of cranes were sold at ConExpo. Did you hear of, I haven't personally, but did you hear of like a big splash with Sany cranes being sold in, this spring?
Sany is Chinese owned. That's one of the issues, that they're selling their product at way below what the EU and the Japanese can sell for their machines. And let's face it, engineering is so much better coming from Germany or EU or Japan. And, it starts affecting the build out of what we're doing over here, because the U.S. economy continues to grow, and the infrastructure is going to be necessary to grow. And when that stalls a little bit because of tariffs, it creates an issue here. I'll give you a success story. Florida, they did reform, I think in 23, and maybe tweaked it in 25. I read an article where there's 21 additional insurance companies that now are writing in Florida that weren't there 3 years ago. And they, in 16 of the 21, filed for rate decreases.
Whoa.
In Florida.
I've not heard those words said in that order.
Right.
The biggest thing they did is proving medical damages, because what we have in Texas, we'll have a plaintiff attorney, let's say, request a $2 million settlement with $600,000 in medical bills. Well, this is going to be paid. They're not paid now, but we anticipate the incurred being paid, and it builds up the damage request. So if you have $600,000 in medical, undocumented, but I think we're going to do it, Florida says you got to prove medical damages, and we're only looking at the actual paid damages. And that is driving down the demands on these lawsuits.
That's fantastic.
So they've got a grip on the medical bill. And Florida went a step further. Tell us what your connection is, plaintiff attorney, with your treating clinics. Do you have financial interest? Are you referring all of your clients to this one clinic? And now you have to disclose the connection between that. And it's driven down the awards on these lawsuits.
Sunlight is a pretty good cleaning agent, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it goes into more, and then it kind of ties in. If there's future medical that we know of, it's got to be tied into what the Medicare reimbursement amount would be. So it limits these phantom demands that we're going to cost $2 million to treat, where Medicare goes, we're going to do it for $150,000. And they also changed the negligence standard. So this is good, and Texas is like this, which means if a claimant is found to be more than 50% at fault, they can actually not recover anything. So if you can prove we are 49%, we being the defense side, the claimant plaintiff, if we can get 51% on their contribution, then it was zero. Before this law, it was percentage-wise. If you're 49, you pay 49% of the claim. Now they pass that where if you're 49, you can pay zero, and that's a huge thing. You got to prove that the other party is 51% negligent. So these are some of the things that Florida did. Georgia also passed some reform. Georgia's got new insurance companies coming in, and they're filing for 10% rate decreases. So we're seeing it work. We're seeing it work in Florida, and we're seeing it work in Georgia. And Louisiana has also passed some reform along with Iowa. So it can work, and it can work in Texas. Texas is a pro-business state, but it starts at the legislature. Gene and myself have been pretty active with the local lobbyists down in Austin. getting their ear and getting this thing back on gear, and not let well-funded pro-business leaders be funded by the opposition. And I mean, it's a smart move. It's a real smart move. So that's my 2 cents.
That's awesome. That's a great update. What a trip to D.C. That's cool. It's really neat to hear that the things that we've been fighting here locally, are now being discussed on a federal level. So those states have passed reform and they're improving. That's awesome. But there's a bunch of states that haven't been able to do it. And so maybe this really turns the tide. It turns the page. I sure hope it does.
Well, right after lunch, holding my bag of Jimmy John's chips and the Italian sub half-eaten, our lobbyist says, well, let's go. Here's a Senate hearing. Let's just step in there and sit at the back and see what they're up to. But you can't take food in here. I go, well, I've got half my sub left and half my bag of chips, and I'm starving to death. I had to trash it.
Oh, man.
I had to trash that Jimmy John's half sub.
My knees hurt. I'm hungry. I've got chip flavoring all over my shirt. But I want to finish my things.
I've told the lawsuit abuse story to 13 different reps now, and so I'm not saying that anymore. I've already told 13 people that. But anyway, the hearing was about Minnesota allowing CDL drivers to undocumented immigrants.
I was following that one around that same time. I saw that one online.
Well, actually, there was a recent 60 Minutes bit on this coming out of Minnesota.
Okay. Well,
foreign-owned trucking companies changing the name on their vehicles and even changing with magnetic stickers so they could just change it quickly.
Well, that was a hearing because
no way.
I think there was an undocumented CDL driver that had an accident, and there was actually 3 fatalities.
In Minnesota, went back to California, was trying to leave the country. A customer of ours told me about the 60-minute bit. He watched it, called me, so I found it. And he was about to leave the country, and they caught him in California and charged him. I guess it would have been involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, so you had supporters of keeping illegal immigrants with CDLs, and then they were being grilled by House members.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The driver did not speak English, couldn't read English. And I think the details of the accident were he used the median to turn around and go the opposite way on the highway. These are normally those little cut-throughs that police officers use, and they sit there, and there's a sign that says for official use only. Well, he couldn't read it. And so he used that cut-through to turn through and pulled out onto the highway, and that accident happened. So the big argument is, okay, so you're a CDL driver, but you can't read our signs. How in the heck did you take the test to pass and become a CDL driver if you can't even read a street sign? So, yeah.
So we sit in the back. I mean, the hearing conference room was probably 100 people. You had press in there, and I think it might have been on the C-SPAN. I'm not sure, but we were at the back listening to this, and we only had 20 minutes because we had to go to the next meeting. But it was really interesting to see the back and forth. Really, really cool.
Was that the one where the governor was being questioned, or was that? No,
you're talking about Governor Walz?
Yeah.
No, he was not there. I would have recognized him.
Okay.
He was not there. And I'm going to kind of end with these hard facts. We talk about auto insurance reductions in Florida, auto insurance reductions in Georgia, auto insurance reductions in Louisiana. All 3 of those states had some form of tort reform, lawsuit abuse reform, in one way or the other. Now, in Texas, carriers requested a 25% increase in their filings for the upcoming, or for 2026. So we have 15% reduction, Florida, 10% reduction in Georgia, 8% reduction in Louisiana. Then we get to good old Texas, and carriers are filing for a 25% increase in auto rates.
It's a 40-point swing between Texas and Florida.
Yeah, so when you hear tort reform is a bunch of malarkey, doesn't work, we hear that quite a bit from certain individuals. The facts are hard to disagree with. It was fun. We're being involved on the local, state level too, and telling our stories, and we'll see what happens.